Demakis from Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales and the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. And this is my friend.
I'm Justine Ewald from TMA.
And we have an exciting new video series for you. It's all about manufacturing and what takes place in Illinois.
We are going to meet the people that run these companies. We are going to get on the shop floor and we are going to see what it takes to work for manufacturing.
Manufacturing is a thing in Illinois that more and more people are trying to get involved in. And so we're gonna find out the who, the what, the why, and we're gonna get put to the test and see if we can actually do the jobs that the people inside are doing. Where are we today?
We are in Prairie Grove, Illinois at Alliance Laser Sales and the Laser Development Center. And I'm a little scared. We got some activities today and we're gonna be put to the test like Tony said.
Let's do it. I can't wait to see what they're going to have us do today.
I hope I beat you. That's my only goal today.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back, or afternoon. Depends on where you are. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony Demakis, president of Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. We do all the other things that mold makers don't have the time or the energy or the resources to do. And that looks like polishing or laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance. And we also build and sell laser welding and equipment that's made here in the United States. That's a big deal to us, right? Especially if you're somebody that's looking for service. We service all of our machines because we build all our machines. So you're not getting somebody with a clipboard that's trying to figure out, how do we fix this thing? You know, turn to page 36. You're getting the people that are actually building the machines. And if you want to see them, we are going to be out at IMTS. That is in just a couple of days, which is really just kind of freaking me out. Move-in is Thursday for us. And then we have a week of setup and getting all that done. And the show is the 9th through the 14th at McCormick Place. I'm really excited for this show. There's going to be a ton of businesses there, manufacturers, just walking the shop floor, looking for the newest, latest, greatest technology. We're going to have some of our own that we would love for you to stop by and see. We are going to be in booth 135, 134. And we are hoping still to be able to do our community outreach project that will be taking place right next to our booth. If all goes according to plan. Sadly, it's still a game time decision, but I am confident that, God is going to provide the way for us to do this. And so if you're interested in giving back to the community, follow Alliance on all the social media platforms that you can. And there will be plenty of information going around. I'm going to ask if you like this show at all, if you've watched this show, if you've heard of this show and maybe it makes you giggle a little bit and you want to support us. We're not trying to make money on this. We just want to keep manufacturing fresh in everybody's mind. We want to get new people, the younger generation, to understand what manufacturing is and come alongside us. We want to give people the opportunity to tell their stories, businesses to tell their stories, why they're making a difference, how they're making a difference, and what that looks like. And so if you could just like and subscribe the video, if you could pass it on to one person, make sure you get the notifications of what's going on with the Manufacturing Alliance. That would be great. You don't want to miss what's happening, especially because we have the show, Make Manufacturing Fun Again with Justine Ewald from TMA. That's going to be starting really soon. Jack is putting the finishing touches on that video. And then episode 1 will be out, and we're going to be looking for more companies to participate in that experience. And what does that look like? It just means that we come into your facility. We talk to your team, we talk to you, find out who you are, what you're all about, and then you put us to the test. Then you take Justine and I and you say, here is a challenge that we want you guys to try and do, right? And we find out who is going to be the better employee. It's fun. I'm going to tell you, it's fun. We filmed the first episode at Alliance. We had the opportunity to do that. We figured it's a pilot. We might as well do it with us first and see how it goes before we experiment with anybody else. And so it went fantastic. Everybody had a lot of fun doing that. And so we're looking forward to the next ones. Right after IMTS, we have our golf outing coming up. This is a golf outing that we've done every year. Probably for the last 7 or 8 years. All the proceeds go to our friends at iWarriors. iWarriors gives iPads to combat wounded veterans. That's really, really important. It may seem like it's a nothing kind of a thing. It's just an iPad, but to a veteran, it means the world because it means they're not forgotten. It means that you're thinking of them. It's personalized to them on the back. And all of that is possible through the golf outing. These iPads give the veterans opportunities to talk with their loved ones and when they're in rehab or overseas or whatever they might be doing. It also has apps on there to help with PTSD. It's it's an awesome gift. And if you are interested in helping our veterans, I want to say it that way, then you can just log on to alliancelasersales.com/golf and you can contribute in a number of ways. You can be a whole sponsor, you can be a lunch sponsor, dinner sponsor, whatever that looks like. We are still looking for golfers. It is filling up quickly. It seems like every day we've got more people registering, and there are a limited number of spots. We cannot just keep this going on forever. So if you're interested in coming out and playing, there's a QR code on the screen, or you just go to alliancelasersales.com/golf. The date of that event is September 20th. Happens to be my wife's birthday. She's very understanding about those sorts of things. I love her. And she gave us our blessing to do that. While we're at IMTS, sorry, we got a few announcements. While we're at IMTS, you can check out all the latest equipment that Alliance has made and is making. We have laser welders, laser engravers, new products coming out. One of them featuring a UR robot. It is probably my favorite product that we've done. The way that it's shaping up, and it's awesome. And if you're looking for some sort of product, laser welder, laser engraver, and you're thinking, why Alliance for somebody else? Well, one reason is our purpose is to make a difference. And one of the ways we do that is by giving back. Our goal is to continue to make a difference. And one way we're doing that is by sponsoring and helping the Tim Tebow Foundation eliminate and eradicate human trafficking around the world. So with every machine sold that Alliance has built, a portion of those dollars will go to the Tim Tebow Foundation to eliminate human trafficking. And that is something that I personally get really, really excited about. And I hope you do too. And so we're looking forward to seeing you all at IMTS and seeing where we go from there. Oh, and I think that's about it for the announcements for now. I think it's time to bring in my buddy because y'all have heard me talk enough. So let's bring in David here.
Hi, everyone.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Tony. Thank you for having me here, brother.
Dude, it's been way too long since we've done this.
It really has been. We don't even live in the same state anymore.
I know. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about is like, we'll get to that, but that idea of like just what does it take for somebody to up and leave their house and their location and say, I'm going to move out of the state. I'm going to go somewhere else, but we'll get there. We'll get there. David, who are you? Tell these nice people who you are.
My name is David Ramirez. I'm business development manager for Howco Additive Manufacturing, which is a division of Howco Group, the broader company. I've been in the additive manufacturing industry for going on 5 years now, so I'm still kind of a rookie compared to some of the folks in the industry, but I'm excited to talk about it. I think additive manufacturing is here to stay, and I'm just excited to be a part of it and to be an advocate and an ambassador for additive.
It's definitely one of those technologies that seems, I'm not going to say the most exciting, but really exciting.
Yeah, it makes the conversations really easy. You're not selling screws or widgets that people don't use that you're trying to convince them to use it. It's a very easy conversation to have because it's very intriguing to people and it's a very sexy technology, I guess you could call it.
Yes. I love that you said sexy. That's one of my theories with like manufacturing, right? When you're trying to get the next gen kids involved in what this looks like, I keep telling everybody that whether it's plastic injection molding or manufacturing as a whole or whatever it is, like, how do you bring sexy back? Like get the Timberlake going. How do you bring sexy back? How do you make manufacturing sexy? How do you make it a thing where anybody cares and they want to be a part of it and they want to know more about it? What does that look like?
Well, I think, there's gimmicks
Hmm.
that do get a lot of attention, or really cool parts for like Hollywood, where they're making these big life-size dolls of action figures of the Hulk, this
Yep.
really cool airless basketball that's back here. But then there's also really practical applications that the nerds, the engineers can really appreciate, like building spaceships and, saving weight and parts that go on race cars. But I don't think a lot of those applications, I think, don't get enough attention. Aerospace, I think, does, but a lot of these applications don't get as much attention as they could to promote the technology, to, like you said, make additive or manufacturing in general appealing to the younger generation.
Do you think that's because there's so many NDAs and contracts, and there's so much caution to let people know what you're actually making, that you can't share the coolness and the awesome experience of what these products are, because your life is on the line, right? You go and show something off, somebody's like, hey, I didn't say you could do that, you're never going to work with us again, and we're going to sue you, and that's proprietary, and it just becomes this issue where you can't show off what you're doing.
100%. I struggle with that all the time. I mean, we work with Department of Defense applications, oil and gas, aerospace companies, and I wish I could show everything that we're making, because it would help move, it would help promote manufacturing, it would help promote additive, it would help promote our company, but we just can't.
Yeah. That is always the biggest struggle for us. Like, we go to a trade show and people are like, oh, do you have any parts? We're like, I can't show you any parts. Like, we can't show any parts because we don't own the parts. We do the repair on the parts. We do the maintenance on the parts. We do the polishing on the parts. And it gets to the point where, like, every plastic part kind of looks like another plastic part. And so we can't show that off. We have to show off, like, our team working. These are the capabilities we have. This is what that looks like. But it becomes that thing, like, talking to younger kids, and what do you know about plastic? Well, I know it's on my phone. I know it's on my case. Like, that's it, right? They have no idea how these things are being made in the real world. And when you show them, their eyes just light up. Like, this is so cool.
For sure. I think that's where some of the gimmicky stuff does play a somewhat important role, is drawing attention to manufacturing, even though I would probably never use an airless basketball like the one I have back here.
Does it work well?
It does. It does.
So why would
It
you never
bounces.
use one?
I would say probably because it could get really dirty if you're playing outdoors and it gets wet, or it rolls into mud or dirt. It's just gonna get trapped in there. It's not easy to clean and just wipe off and you're ready to go again.
So it's a
It's
good
not very
indoor basketball.
Yeah, and it's really expensive. I think Wilson was selling them for $2,500. So it's not like
Okay. All
it's
right.
not something
Listen.
you're gonna play with.
No, that is a gimmick. That's something that, like, $2,500 basketball.
That's what Wilson was selling them for.
I think Wilson is nuts. I mean, even if you break a pin every time you pump up the ball, I mean,
You see my point now? You probably wouldn't want to play with it, but it does help bring attention to manufacturing and additive manufacturing, where we aren't always able to show what we're working on.
yeah, yeah. And the early development side of it is always that way. The question would be like, okay, now that you made a airless basketball, can you take that technology and put it into, like, airless tires,
Hmm. Hmm.
which I'm sure they already have that you can't talk about.
I think they're working on something like that, but like football pads, the lining for the helmets.
Yep.
There's a lot of different applications for that kind of design.
Yeah, I know. Carbon was big into working with football, and I think the NHL for a while for the padding and things like that.
Hmm. Running shoes too. There's
Yeah,
like lattice structures in the running shoes. Yeah.
yeah. And I think to your point, those are the things that would get the next generation super excited about all of these things and what that looks like. Um, Sorry, I just had a message. Uh, for those of you following, Brian Warren's son is back in the hospital, and he just posted a message about that. And I got distracted for a hot second. So, Brian, we're thinking about you and Jake. Just going to throw that out there right now. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, it becomes one of those things where um, how do we show people? How do we show people the coolness factor of what's happening? Additive is amazing to me because it allows, even the hobbyist, right? You are far beyond the hobbyist, but it allows the hobbyist to say, I wish I had an action figure or a thing or a part that did this, but it doesn't exist. How do I make one?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes out all of the legwork of, okay, I got to build a mold. I got to find a molder. I have to do this. I have to do that. It's all of these different things. Is that how you, pitch it? How is Howco utilizing this technology in big ways?
I'm glad you went there because, you know, like having a tool belt with different tools, manufacturing works the same way.
Mm-hmm.
There are hammers, there are screwdrivers, there are wrenches, there are pliers. So that would be the forging, the casting, the injection molding, the additive. You wouldn't use a screwdriver to hit a nail, and you use a hammer, obviously. And
Right.
to your point, if I want something, if I want to prototype something, or a variety of different if I want to make variations of the same part, I wouldn't tool up for it. I wouldn't create a mold that would be really costly to make just a few pieces, only to throw the design away and find the mistakes of my design and then change the design. So
Yep.
that's where additive becomes a really easy conversation, especially early on in the product development cycle, which is why initially it was used mostly for rapid prototyping, because it's a very versatile process, especially for low volume, one-offs, 10, a dozen, couple pieces. That's where additive really shines. But in the last couple of decades, it's come a long way to where it's actually a viable option for some low to mid volume production runs. And we can get into that. But when you get there, you have to actually add value. It goes back to what I was just saying. You're using the tool for what it's intended
Right.
to be used. And that's, you have to make that distinction, especially with additive.
Right. And I think that was my opinion. And I've said this before. I feel like that was the mistake that a lot of additive manufacturers made in the beginning.
And still
Um,
are.
yeah, they came out with like guns blazing, telling the mold makers and the molders and all of them, like, listen, we're going to take your jobs. Everything is going to go to additive. You need one of these. If you're not doing additive, you're going to be left in the dust. We can do all this stuff. We don't need you. And I think they set up a wall and a bridge between what could be a very good synergistic relationship.
100%. And that's another, I think, thing. That's another conversation that needs to be brought to the table. Is additive is a really good complementary technology to other manufacturing methods, like the CNC, like the injection molding technologies. Um, Again, especially early on in the product development, where you're still finalizing your design, but you know that eventually you're going to mass produce this. You're going to go to injection molding. This lets you get a lot of those kinks out, but you're eventually moving to injection molding. So you're designing the part for that manufacturing method down the road, but you're using additive to quickly iterate and find those kinks and get those, find the errors in your design. And similarly with CNC, additive isn't a great technology for tight tolerances, really smooth surface finishes, but CNC can be very wasteful sometimes,
Yep.
where you're starting with a big block of material and you're maybe throwing 80% of that material away, where additive can actually help you be more effective and efficient with the buildup, and then you finish it with the CNC process.
Yep. Yep. And I think just looking at the part, right? It's so much easier to have a piece part in your hand and could say, is this the actual finished design that we want? Than looking at a drawing and saying, yeah, we're finished. The design is done. Like, let's go with it. Even a 3D model rendering, it's not the same as being able to hold something in your hands and say, what if we rounded this edge? We put an additional radius here. What if we did that over here? Um, and to me, that's the beauty of additive, is being able to make those quick decisions on the fly with actual real parts.
100%, especially for assemblies. You take your part and you actually put it in the environment that it's going to be used in, and then maybe, because when you're looking at the 3D model, you don't see everything that's surrounding unless you're also modeling that, in which case it's very inefficient. You take the part and put it in the environment it's going to be used in, and all of a sudden there's something that's hitting it. It's making contact that wouldn't work if this is vibrating a lot, and then you realize things that you wouldn't otherwise realize.
Yep. And you just look at, is this going to attach the right way? Is it going to bump the wrong way? Is it going to it depends on the application, right? Of what you're actually building that additive for. We utilize it all the time when we're making our laser welding and laser engraving machines, because we're not making hundreds of them at a time. We'll use additive to build the the key switch component, the cover for the key switch, or some of our additional parts that go along with it. Right now, we have a machine that's coming out. It's going to be at IMTS, utilizing the UR robot with a laser welding head on the front of it. And we were looking at it today, like, how do we put our Alliance name on this? What's it going to look like? Okay, we can additively make some brackets that this will attach to. It's super efficient, super easy to do. We don't have to worry about bending metal or anything like that. We just print exactly what we want and we're done. We're ready to go. It's so easy.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm hearing right now, that you guys are deploying it. I think we had some conversations in the past about using it, but I don't know. I didn't know that you actually started using it in your products. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think
And
when you and
so
I were talking about it, sorry, it was metal applications that we were looking at, and these are different resins that we're using. Um, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm actually curious to hear more about. I don't know how much you want to talk about it on here,
I don't
but
care.
you might care. The new product that you're coming out with,
Yeah,
it's I saw maybe like a robotic arm, or
yeah. So
maybe
it's
it's
a
not.
say that again.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So it's a large welding table. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty sick. And TIG welders have been doing this for years, where they take a UR robot and they do TIG welding robotically.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with TIG is there's a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of additional heat that's put into the part. There's a lot of deformation of the parts. And so what we looked at, it said, okay, we are the experts when it comes to laser welding. Why isn't anybody doing this? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so the first version of the machine came out a couple of years ago. It was called the ID1 UR, and it was great. We had some interest in it, but what we found was the platform size wasn't large enough, and we were running into some complications. And so we expanded it out. Now it's a 48 by 48 tabletop. The robot has the full reach. It's a 450 or 600 watt laser. It's got all the fixtures with it. It's it's a beautiful project. I love this machine. It just looks so, to your point, sexy, right? When you see it, it's like, that's awesome. It's not like some, hodgepodge of stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna be up there in Chicago for IMTS as well, so I'll run into you there.
When do you get
And
into town?
um, Friday the 6th, I'm gonna spend the weekend with my family. That's up there.
Nice.
Yeah, so it would be nice to see them. I haven't seen them in a couple months.
Yeah. So what was that like when you decided to up and leave Illinois to uh, Texas?
Well, it's actually the third time I've done something like this,
Oh,
so
so you
it's
have no
gotten
problem
easier.
doing this.
It's gotten easier for sure. I
Yeah.
think the first time I moved was right out of actually when I was going to college. We
Okay.
were just talking about Jack,
Yeah.
and he moved 2.5 hours away. I moved from Illinois to upstate New York to Rochester. I just
Okay.
hopped on a train with my bags, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And that
Yeah.
was it was a little nerve wracking at that point, being 18 and doing something like that.
Yeah.
And then I came back home, and the second time that I moved away was to Connecticut. I just kept getting drawn to the East Coast for some reason, probably the food, the pizza, the vibe.
The pizza. You're gonna have Chicago people pissed off. We start talking about East Coast pizza being better than Chicago pizza. I'm just saying.
uh,
I'm just
I
saying.
You can have a debate around it, I think, but I think East Coast takes it.
All right. I can't. I
Uh,
can't weigh in. I've never had legitimate East Coast pizza.
Dude, come on,
I
you're
know.
missing out.
That's what you're telling me.
And then, a couple months ago, I was in a situation where it, the company that I started with was no longer that company.
Mm,
A lot of things changed, and the vision wasn't there anymore. And this opportunity came across, and I had thoughts about moving out of Illinois again,
yep.
but God opens doors, and this was one of them. And I was like, all right, this is perfect. I'm recently married. At that time, I was still expecting my baby. My baby's now born.
Nice.
Um, so it just everything kind of fell into place, and I just had to be willing to take that step, and I did, and I'm very glad that I did.
So was your wife excited about the move?
Very excited
Okay.
actually, because her family's in Mexico, my family's in Chicago, and Texas is 2.5 hours flight to Chicago, 2.5 hours flight to Mexico. So it makes that trip a lot easier
Yeah.
too.
So you
Yeah.
became the hero then.
I've been the hero. that's why
Yes.
she that's why she married me.
I love that. I love that. Now, if I asked her, would she say the same thing? That's the question.
She probably won't admit it. She probably wouldn't admit it.
That's good. So here's what I'm gonna say. We're gonna keep talking about whatever we want to talk about, but we have a lot of people listening right now. And if you are listening and you're saying, "Man, I got some questions about additive, and I would love some answers," David's your guy. So do me a favor, put your name in the chat. Tell me what company you're with. Let's give you a shout out and join the conversation. Be part of what we're actually talking about together. Because I hate talking at people. I like talking with people, and we do this show live on purpose because the more people we can talk to, the more opinions we can get, the better off we all are, and the more we can all learn. So go ahead and let us know who you are and what you're doing and what you want to know, and give us some questions. And otherwise, we're just going to keep talking about whatever we want to talk about. So with Howco, so you said that the company that you were with previously, I don't want to sling mud or anything. They shifted was it the culture that changed? Is that what made you think maybe I need to make a change? Was it the go ahead. What was it that made
The
you say, I used to love this company, I don't love this company, I'm ready for a change?
Yeah, it was mainly the culture. I so loved what we had in the
Yeah.
beginning because when I joined that company, there was only about 8 of us, and it was literally, a true startup,
Yeah.
and it had a lot going for it. And when you're a startup, everyone's working as a team. You're not really, you're not really, everyone's wearing different hats, and we're all trying to win. We're all trying to make the most out of what we have,
Yeah.
the opportunity that we have in front of us. And so I loved when we were working and the culture was like a startup.
Yep.
Eventually, it got to the point where the startup was sold, it was merged with other companies, and really quickly it became a very corporate like
Mm,
uh, company. And we went from 8 employees to 150
Oh,
in
wow.
in a few years. I think maybe 2.5 years. That's a vast change.
Huge.
That's a huge change. And then you have to implement management and certain things. You know, they just it affects the culture. It affects
Hmm.
the way we interact with each other. It's part of the process, I guess. And in terms of scaling, you need to have more specialized responsibilities. But then
Sure.
that also, I think, I mean, I think you can still have like a startup culture in a bigger company when that's your goal to keep that culture. But if that culture is not super important to the new owners of the company, the people making the decisions, the culture is going to naturally shift
Yeah.
to maybe something you don't even want. So
Yeah. And I think, I haven't necessarily experienced it. I haven't worked for a corporate America for a really long time. Um, but I do know that there's something special about small business. There's something special about small teams when really every dollar matters and you're all, like you said, working together to come up with the best way to get something done. And you realize that it's all hands on deck. It's not just this division is trying to solve just this problem. You are the division, you are the company, you are that focus. And I think you're probably right. It's really easy. The giant comes in and they have all this money and they go, this is what we're going to do, this is the way we're going to do it because I said so. And when that's the
yeah,
case, you can become demotivated really, really quickly.
yeah, everyone can become demotivated really quickly, and then you're having that conversation of that's not my job. I don't want to do that.
Yes.
And then everyone's just doing the bare minimum, and the customers then suffer because of it. And I'm in
Right.
sales, so I'm dealing with the customers, and I'm dreading having those conversations. I can't do anything about it. um, when we were a startup, one person can touch every aspect of the company.
Sure.
When we got really big, all of a sudden I can't even walk into the production floor. I can't even go ask questions about production, even though that's what I'm used to. Just a year ago, I was
Yep.
able to do that, and then a year later, all of a sudden I can't, go and ask questions about. I can't own the project like I used to be able to.
Yeah.
And but I'm the face to the customer. I'm the one that ultimately the customer thinks of when they think of this company or this project. So it
You're the one
it
that's going to
was
have the answers and you can't get the answers.
exactly.
That's not fair to anybody. And
Yeah,
one of the things that you said is like, it's not my job, right? That is one of my
um
least favorite things that I've ever heard. It's either the two, that's not my job. And, it's the way that we've always done it. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Or like you said, we're going to do this because I said so.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's growing up, that was my father always said, because I said so, because I said so, because I said so. And I realized later as an adult that I hate that answer so much because that can't be the only reason. There has to be more to it. Like there's no learning in because I said so. Right? There's just obedience. And I guess maybe you want obedience out of your kid. I mean, yes. But I think obedience with a purpose other than you're just my dad, um, is more beneficial. And at work, it's even more so because nobody is, I mean, they're not kids. We're all professionals together. And so if something comes up and you're like, hey, I think we should do this. Why? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you why this is going to work, why this isn't going to work. Or the other side, like you tell me why you don't like the idea and let's go from there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with a startup, you're you're kind of being told what the problems are. You're having to face the problems all the time, and that's what drives your decision making. That's what drives innovation. Where I think once you get too big, or at least the culture is we're a bigger company, we don't need them. We don't need to solve these problems for our customers because we have other customers, because we can go find another customer. Where when you're a small company, every opportunity, every customer is important to you.
Yeah. It's that customer conversation is a really important one, because one of the things that we stress all the time is the importance of like just caring for your customer, right? Because I I don't want a million customers. I really don't. We want to give, not the Jerry Maguire model where it's, one customer. We need more than one. Okay. But, customized and specialized treatment for our customers where we can jump through those hurdles when they need us to. If you have too many customers, that's too many different relationships, in my opinion, to try and manage. We're not a retail space. We're a service industry. We're providing a service and a product to a niche market, specialized market, however you want to say it. And you have to treat those customers with the utmost respect and kid gloves, because you want to, right? Because they deserve it. And so if you have all these customers, you can't balance that you can't balance it. You can't service everybody. And so for us, it's always better to have a few really good customers that that they know you, that you have a relationship back and forth, that it's built on trust, that you can come through for them, that they can come through for you. And it's that give and take, and it's specialized to them.
Definitely, and that's where culture becomes so important, right? It's how are you treating your customers? How are you handling problems? Every company has problems,
Yep.
but how do you go about solving those problems? And that's where culture plays such an important role.
Yep. Yep. And when you're looking at those things, you have a new technology, right? Additive is a newer technology when it comes to the manufacturing space. And so you have more things that you have to try and navigate. You have to try and figure out, when you're talking to a customer, what are the challenges? What are the benefits? Why is somebody going to want this technology versus a different technology? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Definitely. So I think a lot of the hurdles that I face, a lot of the objections are around risk. It's
Mm,
a new process. It's possibly a new material. I've never done it before, so there's a lot of fear in the risk that someone might take in wanting to have a part made additively. So it's really important to hold your customers' hands through the process of qualifying something for the additive process, making sure that they're taking everything into account, because it's a new manufacturing method. You're not going to treat this like you would an injection molded piece or a forging or a machined component. You have to take into account the nature of the additive process, and that's where you really need to have a good relationship with your customer to be able to guide them and for them to listen to the advice that you're giving them, because they're fearful of taking this step and failing and possibly losing their jobs, right? Sometimes you're
yeah.
dealing with business owners, sometimes you're dealing with employees, engineers at a big company, that if they make a mistake, it could cost them their jobs. So
Yep.
that's one of the bigger objections that I deal with, is the fear of taking that step and venturing off to uncharted territories.
So when you're navigating that risk, and somebody says like, listen, I've heard really good things about additive. I want to take the chance, but I don't know if it's worth the risk. How do you combat that with somebody? Like, what is not combat? That's the wrong word. How do you put them at ease to let them know that, the reward is worth the risk?
Well, you have to lay it out on the table. You have to say, this tool, this manufacturing method can help you in these ways. And it has to be obviously, transparent and honest, because the additive has kind of we've done ourselves a disservice kind of promising the world and
Hmm.
under delivering. But there is a lot of value in additive manufacturing, the quick iterations, um, part consolidation, inventory management, increasing the performance of a component, doing things that you couldn't do any other way
Mm-hmm.
with additive. So
Mm-hmm.
you're you're kind of giving them the features and benefits of the process, but it helps to put parts in their hands too when you show up and you have something really cool like this to show them, and they actually feel the integrity of the part, and they're not just having to imagine what their part would look like. Sometimes
Yeah.
we'll make samples too, just send us your part, we'll make a couple samples for you, we'll put the parts in your hands so you can be more confident in what we're trying to help you with.
Right. Right. And I think those are all great business cases for additive, right? And so when somebody's looking at, okay, what's the right way to do this? Well, how far are you in the process? Is this
Mm-hmm.
a new product that's never been developed before? If so, well, then it might make sense for you to have a prototype in your hands, have something that you can take to a mold maker in the future once it's done and say, okay, we want to make this. What's the best way to make this?
Exactly. It's about using the tool for what it's intended to be
Yeah.
used for. That's really what it comes down to. When you're looking at it that way and someone sees that you're being honest and transparent with them, I think you're showing the value. When the value is clear, the decision's easy.
Yes. Yes. And I think exactly what you're saying is exactly right. We're in lockstep with each other, that those early adopters who had the early farms and the early things, they did a huge disservice to their own industry by almost threatening the other manufacturers, saying you're going to be obsolete. Kids are going to do this. They're not going to do what you're doing. You might as well get on board. You're going to be left in the dust.
Yeah, it was a nice dream while it lasted. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of that being weeded out right now. Unfortunately, there's certain companies that aren't doing so well.
Yeah.
They're really backed by the hype, but now when push comes to shove, only companies that are solving true problems are going to persevere during these tough times for the industry.
Yeah, there has been a ton of cool additive technology that has come out. Some of it's lasted, some of it not so much. Some of it had, my opinion, really bad ideas as far as the purchase model and what that looked like. Like I got in fights with the people at Carbon because I love the Carbon technology. I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool. I don't understand it, but the stuff that I've seen them make is just amazing. But for a while we thought that would be cool. We can do that. How much does it cost to buy it? And then we found out that you never buy it. You never own it. You just you just rent it forever. Uh, and that sucks. Like if they go out of business, you own nothing. Like it's just because everything is proprietary. And so we just couldn't justify what that would look like. And just following the technology throughout the years, like there's so many different ways that people are doing this. And it's just so cool. It's so cool. What do you see as the future for additive?
Well, I think there's a couple points to touch there, like driving costs down.
Yep.
That's always going to be a factor. So being able to make things more quickly, more effectively, cutting down on the post processing that sometimes is required with additive is you 3D print the part, but now you have to finish it. You have to
Yeah.
get the tolerances. You have to get the surface finish. Um, so the more of that can be done in the printing process, the more cost effective it'll be, the more efficient the process will be. I think the Internet of Things and inventory management, that's going to be a big component of what additive can be used for. Why I was at the oil and gas conference a couple months ago here in Houston,
Yep.
and I was listening to these oil and gas companies say how they have billions with a B in inventory. And 80% of those parts might never be used. So
Right.
just think about that yearly cost there, where if you digitized your inventory, you can print parts on demand. Um,
Isn't it
you
crazy that somebody okayed billions of inventory?
I don't think they had a choice.
Yeah. Oh, just in order to make that many parts at a cost-effective volume.
Yeah, exactly. When you're dealing with specialized processes, mass manufacturing processes, you to when you're done and you move on to the next product, in order to make something that you made in the past, to retool,
Right.
to reorganize, to reset up that shop floor is really expensive. So you probably overproduce for things that are going to happen in the future, for parts that you're going to need in the future, and you're going to
Yep.
store them and maybe never use them.
Yep. No, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, me personally, I've never heard that as a reason for additive, but I mean, that's that's brilliant on its own because the government says or the law is I think that you have to have parts for up to 5 years once you manufacture something. Somebody has to be able to get parts for up to 5 years. That's why people keep molds and things for so long, just in case they have to do one run to make parts for one person or one customer or whatever that looks like. But once that 5 year mark is done, like a lot of people are like, you're out of luck. You just, we don't make that anymore.
100%. Companies go out of business too. They used to make something, they're not even around anymore
Yeah.
to make your spare parts. I was just reading an article about the U.S. Navy and how the Navy is not able to service their ships or their submarines because the supply chain is not there anymore. They went from having something like 17,000 suppliers um, decades ago to 5,000 now. So
Yeah.
massive reduction in their supply chain. And in order to get parts, they could be years out, where, with additive, because it's a very versatile process, can help you there with the problem that you're solving, which is scheduling and speed.
Right.
Maybe it's not the best process to make that part, but it's better than waiting 2 years to use the right process to make that part, and it can be very expensive.
Well, and in the meantime, you have a part, right? So is it going to be the exact part that you need made with the exact material you need? No, but you can probably print 10 or 20 of them while you're working on making one the way that it's actually supposed to be done with the material that it's supposed to be used with. And then you go from there, but it gives you that stopgap so that you can get through what you're trying to get through.
Definitely.
So my friend Rich, he's going to be on the show in a couple weeks. He chimed in. He's joining us. If you are listening and you have questions for David or myself, probably more for David, go ahead and put those in the chat. Rich says that he just hopped on and wondering if we discussed what materials are being printed at this point, as far as the metals, if you know. So, David, what do you think for Rich?
So I know some off the top of my head. I know I'm going to miss some, but the materials that are really popular are aluminum, titanium, different kinds of steels, whether it's stainless steel, tool steel. Um, there are some specialized metals, uh, like the niobium C103, that's really good for aerospace. Um, Tungsten carbide. Um, more popular materials. So in jewelry, you see a little bit of
Yeah.
3D printing with those rare metals. Um, am I missing something? Aluminum, titanium, steel.
And there's like a billion different grades of steel. So it's like, the numbers of materials seems like it just continues to go up. People are continuing to develop that next thing as manufacturers are saying, um, what can we do? What can't we do? Rich apparently liked your answer. He says, you're doing tungsten? Holy crap.
Tungsten is being used in additive. We aren't currently using tungsten, but there are companies out there that can print tungsten. It has to be weldable. Well, Yeah, for the most part, it has to be weldable. If you're using a laser-based process, there are other processes like binder jetting, where you're stacking the layers of the part without welding them, but then you're sintering the green part in order to make the get the material properties out of that component. So that process is a little more versatile. The laser-based processes were kind of constrained to materials that are weldable.
Yep. Yep. I mean, that makes sense. And it's exciting because it just keeps growing and changing when it comes to the different materials and the things that you can do. And I think aerospace being cutting edge and that's probably a huge application for you.
Yeah, 100%. The part that I was just showing you is a rocket nozzle. That this one's made out of titanium. Can you hear the?
Sounds awesome. A musician would
Uh,
be able to tell you what key that's in. I'm not that guy.
yeah, I mean, so for aerospace, something that one of the things that they're trying to solve for is the buy to fly ratio. How much material am I buying versus how much material is actually flying? So additive is a really good process for that because it has minimal waste. Like
Okay.
and you're able to make parts that are super light because you're only putting material uh, where
Where
you
you need
need
it.
it,
Yeah.
and as opposed to cutting from a solid piece. I mean, the volume that this takes up is mostly empty,
Right.
right? So you'd be throwing a lot of material away, and same thing with the rocket nozzle. If you're looking at that volume, that volume is only made up of 10% of that volume is actual material. So to cut something into that shape, your buy to fly ratio is way off because 80% of the material that you're paying for doesn't even make it to flight.
Right. So with a lot of the with the metal additive manufacturing, I mean, you still have to go with the process, right? Where you are is it mostly powdered metal at this point?
Yeah, a lot of them are powder. There's a couple other processes that are using. You can use filament, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like a plastic kind of filament with metal in it, and
Okay.
then you shape the part, and then you go to bake it or sinter it to get the plastic out of it and fuse the metal that's left over. You fuse that together. Um, the reason I was asking about your laser welding robot is because
Oh.
there's that's becoming a very popular process as well. Direct energy deposition, which is you're basically welding
Mm-hmm.
on a robotic arm, and you're
Sure.
stacking the layers on top of each other. So it's not a powder process; it's a wire that that you're welding. So,
Yep.
but I think the bulk of it is probably powder.
Okay. So is that material reusable? So when you're talking about like cutting away the material and having a lot of additional waste afterwards, if you're using additive and it's a powdered metal, is that material then able to be reused into the next process?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if like the printers that we have, where we're vacuuming the powder inside of the printer,
Yep.
so it doesn't get exposed to the environment. It's being contained in the printer. But excuse me, oftentimes you're able to capture the powder somewhere else and then mix it with new powder
Yep.
to make the next part.
Yep. So Rich has another question. Rich is very invested in this conversation, which I love. I love you, Rich. He says,
Thanks,
I'm
Rich.
sure the materials that you print play a factor, but what kind of tolerances can be held?
Great question. So we we tell customers for the most part we can hold plus or minus 5 thou. Tolerancing is one of the, I guess, the drawbacks of additive. It's not going to compare to a piece that was machined. But to the conversation that we were having earlier, this is a complementary process to the machining, to the injection molding processes. Here I have a piece that was printed, right? So that's
Okay.
the as printed piece. And then here I have the end product, which is a 3D printed part that was then cut to get those tolerances, you know, tighter where I needed them, for the threads,
Yep.
for where it's going to mate with another component. So it's about using the tool for the right application, like we were
Yeah, and that was
talking
going to be
about
my question.
earlier.
Like you can probably speed up the manufacturing process in that regard and have it. I mean, I don't know what the costs are to do metal additive for a core and cavity versus just straight traditional mold making, but being able to print the part and then go in and final machine it. I mean, it seems to me like you would be light years ahead of where you were supposed to be in the initial phase.
Yeah. It, if you're making a million, it's probably not the route
Sure.
that you want to go to, unless you are bringing in features that can only be done additively.
Okay.
Then, there's a lot
Conformal
of,
cooling and things like that.
exactly. So then there's a lot of value. So you're justifying the price, or, you know, maybe it's a little slower than a specialized process,
Yep.
like a mass manufacturing process,
Yep.
but you're getting a lot of value, and your part can perform a lot better. So then you justify all the drawbacks potentially.
Yeah. Are you finding a lot of these companies that came out now there's a lot of metal additive manufacturers and printers, and whether that's Mantle or it's Exact or whatever it um, is there longevity and sustainability in all of the proprietary brands that use specialized material, or is there going to be one uniform? Is there going to be one go-to, right? Like powdered metal, you can buy powdered metal, like you can buy steel. Like I can call Paul Britton at International Mold Steel and say, I want to order some steel, right? And he can get me some steel. And then whatever CNC machine I have, I can cut that steel.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues that I've seen when talking about, like, do we buy a 3D printer? What does that look like? Is the material on how do you know that they're going to be around where you're going to be able to use this tool for a long time?
I think with in trying to go after versatility, you'll sometimes sacrifice some efficiency. And so I think there's always going to be room for specialized equipment,
Yep.
because they'll be that much more efficient, that much more effective at that one thing.
Sure.
So you will have equipment that is more versatile, but you're also sacrificing, some efficiency there as well, because if it's versatile, then you have to have a trained technician that knows how to adjust all the power, all the different variations to get that machine right, ready for that material.
Yep.
So that could slow you down a little bit. I think there's room for both.
Okay. No, that's good. It's good to know, because that's one of the things that I kept thinking is, okay, now what, right? Like the equipment's not cheap.
Definitely not cheap,
And so
especially
if
the
they go out of
metal.
business and it's proprietary powder or material, it's like, now what? I can't even sell this thing. Like
Yeah.
it's just going to sit there.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some of that, in this recent downturn in additive. There's been some OEMs that have put out a lot of equipment that aren't doing so well financially. Hopefully they make it through. Hopefully someone comes in and saves these companies, but that's what's going to happen, is they're going to be stuck with equipment that maybe can't even be serviced anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe that opens up the opportunity for um more service providers that can go and fix different kinds of equipment, as
Sure.
opposed to,
Sure.
so there's opportunity there as well, I guess.
Are you guys selling the equipment, or are you strictly service providers for people that need additive parts?
Strictly service providers. We make parts. We do reverse engineering. So, we're equipped with 3D scanners, and we have engineers that are really good at modeling. So we have a consultative approach. We're
Yep.
not just parts providers, but at the end of the day, we are making parts, but we're doing it with a consultative kind of approach.
That's good. That's good. So if somebody wants information from you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
You can reach me at my email, david.ramirez@howcogroup.com. I'm always on LinkedIn, so if you can find my LinkedIn, hit me up on there. Yeah, I think for the most part, I'll be able to respond to those pretty quickly.
Cool. You want to play some 5 questions with us?
Of course.
Or with me? Because, Jack's not here right now. So let's see. Let's pick a good music for us. Oh, how about Epic? That'll be good. What's that going to give us? Oh, it's kind of epic. All right. So here we go. We're going to do some 5 questions with David. Question number 1. Would you rather be the world's greatest tetherball player or find $100 on the ground?
$100.
Yeah, you got no love for being the greatest tetherball player, huh?
I could take my wife out to dinner maybe with $100.
But maybe there's somebody out there that's like, oh my gosh, do you know who that is? That's David Ramirez. That's the greatest tetherball player ever.
No desire for fame.
I like that. Okay. In all fairness, I would take the $100 too. I don't think I want to be known as the world's greatest tetherball player. I think that's, you got to compete with Napoleon Dynamite on that one. Question number 2. What is your least favorite book of all time?
Ooh, least.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have a good answer for that, because I only read stuff that I like, that I'm interested in.
I would think it probably, for me, would have to be something that I was supposed to read back in high school that I never read.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Did you actually read Frankenstein, or you think it would be terrible?
I think I was supposed to read it, but I don't think I ever did. So
yeah, yeah. I think if I had to think of the worst book, Jack wrote these questions. He's got some books that he thinks are horrible and never should have been written. But I think, like Beowulf might be good, but like the old English and everything, I could never get into it at school. It's supposed to be epic and amazing, but I just think, well, no interest. Yeah. My daughter hates most of the books that they make her read at school. Grace just doesn't like. She doesn't like any of those books. And Jack in high school, he would say, listen, why do you keep giving us all these depressing books to read? Why can't we read anything happy? Why are you trying to keep us from having joy and happiness in school?
Yeah, it's another reason I moved to Texas.
So Texas schools are better than Illinois schools?
Perhaps. I'll find out.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying.
I 100% know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I would guess that most of the people listening would agree with us. Question number 3. If you were in charge, David Ramirez, you are in charge of naming a brand new additive machine, what would you call it?
The Replicator.
The Replicator.
I think they've played on that name, but
okay.
The Replicator.
Would that be a thing where it could be almost like Wonka Vision? You put it in and it would just automatically read it. It would 3D. It would X-ray the whole thing, and it would just spit out a part. You wouldn't even have to put in drawings or anything.
Exactly.
That's good. Jack said he would name his machine Kyle. He went with Kyle. Question number 4. Wait a minute. Did we have the same question twice? That's a mistake. Oh, that's what happens when I do this on my own, I guess. Question 5. We're going to skip question 4. What are you most proud about that you never have a chance to talk about?
Wow, that's a good one. I don't know that I never have a chance to talk about it, but finding God is something that that's changed my life drastically. I don't share that too much. Maybe I should share it a little more because maybe there's other people that can also be saved. But yeah, I would say that's probably one of my biggest achievements. Not that I don't get credit for it, but I was looking and I found.
Yeah, that's great. And that's one of those things where, like, I think it has nothing to do with you, right? I mean, you can say my achievement, but our achievement is found in Christ and everything that He did. And we can be proud of that. We can be proud of what He was able to accomplish on the cross for us, and just the idea that, we were called and had the ability to say yes and thank you. And I know that's one of the things you and I connected on years ago was our faith and what that journey was and what that looks like. I think that's a great answer. I mean, I think it's one of those things where I wish it was more socially acceptable to talk about, but sometimes the fact that it's not makes it even more special and unique.
Well, it's written. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But
how is it?
We were born in these times for a reason. So
yeah. How has that difference been between? I'm going to get in trouble with Illinois. How's that difference been between Illinois and Texas?
There's a lot of churches here. I think, at the grocery store, literally like the main grocery store, you'll see like decorative pieces with crosses on it, and it's just more normal to talk about. You don't get shamed for talking about your faith as much.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting thing to me. Being in business, and years ago, my brother, one of my brothers said, Tony, do you think it's a good idea for you to talk about your faith so freely when you're doing a podcast or, with work or putting it out on LinkedIn or whatever it is? What if you lose business? What if somebody doesn't want to work with you because of your beliefs, because they're not a Christian or they don't like Christians? Then what? Right. And I just kind of looked at it and I was like, well, then I guess we're not going to work together.
100%. And, I'm very proud of you for sticking to your guns. And ever since we've connected, you never let off. I've seen you on your podcast with your hat that says God won. You started the year off by posting scripture. I'm just very proud of you for not being ashamed of who we are and our faith. So I think you should wear that as a badge of honor.
Well, I appreciate that. It's it's one of those things. We were walking around the shop today, and we were working on some machines, and we couldn't find a cable to plug the robot into the box. Right, we need an extender cable, and everybody there was a small moment of panic because IMTS is in 2 weeks, and we need to get this thing done. And what are we going to do about this? And so we just we found it. Right? It showed up, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's amazing! It's a miracle!" And I was like, "Listen, we give God glory all the time, right? Why are we surprised when He steps in and says, "Here it is. Here's what you need. Like, don't freak out. It's going to be okay." And it's all those moments where it's not me doing it. It's not that I'm so skilled at really anything. It's God who's intervening in my life and in the lives around us and making things happen in ways that it's not even explainable. 100%. And I think it's I'm not ashamed of that. I want to continue to push that forward. I think it's the most important thing that we can do. I'll say it over and over again, that my purpose is not to make widgets or laser welding machines or have a mold repair company. That's not my purpose. That helps fund the purpose, right? My purpose is to give God glory in all of that I do, whether that's leading or having podcasts and talking to people and just trying to be a light in the darkness and whatever way that can be. And along the way, we're going to do all that other stuff. We're going to make really cool machines. We're going to do good service, but we're going to do it with a servant's heart, and we're going to do it in a way that we can make a difference for the people around us in any situation.
Amen to that.
So, yeah, that's what I got. Anything else that you want to cover or go over before I let you go today?
I think we touched on a lot of good things.
We did. We
Yeah.
did. What we could do, what would be fun is when you're in town and you're at IMTS, I think I'm going to bring our little microphones that we got for the Make Manufacturing Fun Again series that Justine and I are doing. If you want to come by, we can do a little, what did you see at IMTS that you like? Kind of little mini podcast, little mini casts.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. All right, brother. Oh, if you're still listening, there are many people still listening. We end every show with a prayer because I think it's really, really important. And he is the boss, and he's the only one that can make a difference in the things that we actually want and need. So even if you're not a believer and something's going on in your life and you think maybe this is ridiculous, but man, it would be really nice if somebody was thinking about this and praying for me for this. Do me a favor, put that in the chat. And we're going to pray for you and for whatever that might be. So, go ahead. We're going to chat about some other stuff for a hot minute. And if you're listening, and you have a prayer request, put that in the chat and we'll add that. David, do you have any prayer requests?
Yes. Let's pray for our children who are going to have to fight the battles that we don't win, whether that's, because we ran out of time or because people were unwilling to step up and fight. Ultimately, our children are going to have to fight those battles if they're, because those battles will still be there.
Yeah. Those battles are going to be there. And it's really interesting when you see what's happening, in the world around us. And, there's battles that we never even thought we were going to be in. And we're in the middle of them. And, part of that has to do with work and, the battles of continuing to grow the industry. Part of that is like, what's going to be acceptable for our kids, what's expected for our kids, different opportunities and different things in schools and what's happening, what they're saying and what that looks like. It's a very weird situation to have kids in.
For sure. But like I said earlier, we were born in these times for a reason, right? So let's fulfill our purpose and, submit to God and let him handle this fight.
Yeah. Phil Wickham's song says it the best, right? The battle belongs to God. It's not for us. That's not for us to worry about every single thing. We just have to keep our focus where it needs to be. So I'm going to pray for us, and then I'm going to free you so that you can do some more work today. And then I get to see you in a couple of weeks, which would be awesome. We'll just connect and figure out what that looks like. So I'm going to pray, and then we'll get out of here for today.
Sounds good.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for my friend David. Thank you for his faithfulness. Thank you that you put us in each other's lives, that we could not see each other for a couple of years and pick up just where it left off because we're united in you. And so we just pray that if you're listening today, or if you hear this 2 years from now, that you are blessed in amazing ways. And that maybe you come to know God and who he is and what he can do for you. And so we just pray for all of our kids. We pray for the kids that are born, that are unborn, that are old, that are young, that the battles that they have to go through today and tomorrow and into the future, that you would be in control of that and that they would know that. And we just pray for the people that are going through things today, whether it's sickness or sickness of a loved one or father or mother or husband or wife, that you would be with them, and that your healing your healing power would be there. You are the only one that can do something about that. And so we just pray for healing over the people that need it, both mentally, spiritually, physically. And we're thinking about you, and you're thinking about them. And so we just pray for those things, and that you would give us guidance, that you would give us the ability to stay strong and bold in our faith and our walk with you, and to never back down from questions, but be confident in who you are. And we give this time to you and everything that we have to you, and we love you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Buddy, I love talking with you. We need to do this more often.
I agree. Let's do it.
Oh, I am going to be coming to Texas. I just found out.
Okay.
October 14th through the 17th in Houston, I believe. Are you how far are you from
I'm in
Houston?
Houston.
You're in Houston?
I'm in Houston.
All right. So I just signed up today for the National Plastics Association conference. It is in Houston. I'm super excited about that. And now I'm going to have to get there like a day early so we can hang out.
Yeah, we can hang out. I'll give you a tour of our facility too. Yeah, we'll definitely have to connect.
Sounds good, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Have a good one.
I'll talk to you.
All right, bye. Well, that was the show all about additive manufacturing with David Ramirez. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope that you found some value out of it. I hope maybe you laughed a little bit, maybe it made you think a little bit. I know Rich got a lot out of it. Rich Thiel told me that he even took notes today, and that makes me feel smart. Not because it's anything I said, but I got to be in the room while David was talking. So I want to thank everybody for watching, for being part of the show, for commenting, and for passing it on. Like I said before, if you do like the show, if you find value in it at all, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and comment, and pass it on to somebody else. We are here just to tell stories of manufacturing, to keep it going, to keep it growing, and to find new ways to get this done. We want to tell your stories. And so if you're interested in being on the show and you feel like you have a story to tell, you can email Jack at themanufacturingalliance.com, and he will get all your information. We can set up a time and a date for you to be able to be on the show, and tell your story to the world, what you have to share. It doesn't have to be about the nuts and bolts or the tolerances. It could be about leadership. It could be why you got into the industry. It could be about culture. It could be about machining. It can be about any number of things. But everybody has a story. Everybody has a purpose, and we want to know yours. So do me a favor and chime in with that. We'd love to have you on the show. We are currently hiring. I'm going to say this. We are hiring right now. We are looking for a seasoned professional mold maker that would like to get into mold repair. And that's going to be their focus. Some mold repair, some hot runner experience. If that's you or somebody that you know, they're looking for a change of scenery. They want to work with a family-run business who fights with grit, with gratitude, relationships, integrity, tenacity as the core of their values, and their purpose is to make a difference, then we want to have you join our team. So if you are interested in looking, you can call us at 847-487-1945, or you can email me at tony@alliancelasersales.com, and I would be happy to talk with you and get more information and see if maybe you're a good fit for our team. We've got some upcoming shows coming. We've got David Ramirez was today. Next week, Justine Ewald is going to be joining us from the TMA. We're going to be talking about our Make Manufacturing Great Again project. And so we're going to go into all those details. And then after that, we will be at IMTS. We are probably going to be talking to a bunch of random people. Like I told David a second ago, we're going to record some stuff while we're there, and I think that'll be great. And then September 18th, Amanda Walden will be joining us from Chemical Methods. And then on September 25th, my guy, the guy that commented all day, I love him, Rich Thiel from Standard Cutting Solutions will be joining us. And I look forward to having him on the show. I think that could be a long show. So book some time and be ready for that to be a good one. So that's all we got for today. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening and invite you to come to IMTS. We can't wait to see you there. Hopefully, we're going to have a community outreach event, and I'll have more information about that coming out real soon. But until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care. And I will say, I lost my spot.